a special call. This is not Wednesday. It is Thursday. This special call we are having is something we are hoping to do on a regular, recurring basis. All of you should have also received a few emails from Barry with some sales ideas revolving around the Your Family Bank system. And we're going to cover some more things on this call. We also have two advisors who are on this call with us who are successfully using the system. And here in a little bit, we'll get some of their thoughts on the system and how it is that they are using the system. So there are three things we're going to cover in this seminar, as you'll see on the next slide. And those things that we are going to be covering are common objections, the initial approach, and how to engage business owners. So the Your Family Bank initial approach in this next slide, if you have the system, you know the two simple questions, right? Do you feel that you're going to have a great retirement, or do you have some doubt? Are you confident that you're going to have a great retirement, or do you have some doubt? And the second question, if I could show you a way to become debt-free in 9 years or less without spending any more money on your current debt service, any more money than you're currently spending, those are the two questions. Now, sometimes we've heard from people that, you know what, those two questions, it's hard to just walk up to somebody and ask them those questions. So we sent you an additional question that you could ask that maybe is a little more nebulous, right? This is a question you could ask an individual. Is achieving financial independence important to you? You could ask someone, are you grappling with student loan debt? You could ask somebody a question that just is about debt. You could ask somebody a question about the national debt and say, you know, it seems like everybody, including the U.S. government, is in debt. How are you coping with that? You can ask them any question you want to get you to those other two questions that we just talked about. And here we have this question, which was sent out to everybody as the sales idea for February. This email would have been sent to you last Thursday. Is achieving financial independence important to you? And if they say yes, first of all, if they say no, shake their hand vigorously and thank them for not wasting a whole lot more of your time. But if they say yes, continue and say something like, that's great because I work with my clients to help them achieve financial independence in one of three ways: proactive tax planning, life stage planning, or getting out of debt in 9 years or less without spending any more money than they are currently spending on debt service. Which of these money conversations would be most impactful for you and me to have today? If you've heard me say this before, can we back up one time? If you've heard me say this before, the reason that there are three choices there is because when people are given more than two choices, they will typically land on one. And people will typically land on the one that is the last thing they hear and the thing you say the most, which again is getting out of debt in 9 years or less. And the other thing is, we have two things here: proactive tax planning and life stage planning, which people may not have heard of. And so they may ask you to tell them more about one of those things. And so all we're trying to do with this question, or any question, is to start a conversation. And so that's why this question is worded in the way it is. So the common objections. And the first common objection that and I get this from agents, and I've heard Agents tell me that they get this from clients. Can't I just do this myself? Couldn't I just pay more money on my debts and achieve the same objective? And the answer is, this program is called Your Family Bank. And in the materials that you have, there are detailed explanations of the benefits of setting up your own family bank. And so instead of trying to answer this question in some numerical way or logical way, you first have to answer the question and really get into the benefits of setting up your family bank. And you have in the materials, in the binder that comes from the meeting in St. Augustine, in the software, if you do not know where to find that information, that's what I'm here for. I have the binder. We have access to the software. So all you have to do is call, and you can get into your software, I can get it, and we can walk through and find where all of those things are to explain to the people so that you can explain to someone the true benefits of this program, which is setting up their own family bank. The next objection is people want to know, how does it work? And the answer that when I talk to advisors who tell me that a client asked them or a prospect asked them, how does this work? They immediately go into an explanation of the program or the process. And somewhere in that explanation, there is a conversation about making monthly deposits into something, and the client will ask, is this insurance? Because they know that this person sells insurance. And then the prospect is telling them, well, I don't need any more insurance, because in their mind, they think I'm coming out of pocket with additional money to buy an insurance policy. And that's not how this works. The best answer to give someone when they ask you, how does this work, is to explain to them the process, not the solution. The process is what really works. The process is, well, we gather some data from you. That's the data sheet or fact finder. And then we see if you qualify, and we will create a report for you that will illustrate your situation. And again, in the binder that you got in St. Augustine, in the 7 steps PowerPoint presentation, the Meet, Mark, and Joyce, all of those things have a sample of the big picture report. And so that's where I want to get somebody, is to allow me to create that kind of a report for them, and showing them the sample without all the annotated lines and all of that stuff, but just showing them that Meet, Mark, and Joyce, the 7 steps. How does it work? We gather information, we enter that information into the software, into the system, and it gives us a report personalized for your situation to see what you would qualify for. And so not how does it work explaining the solution, but how does it work, you want to explain the process, because until somebody is convinced that it will benefit them, they will not get involved with your solution. They don't know that they have a problem that you can solve yet because they haven't gone through the process. So inject the process. How does it work? That's the answer you want to give them. Again, if you're not familiar with where any of those things are, that's why we're having this call, because we will happily get on a call with you after this individually and walk you through how all of that stuff works. The third objection is one that we hear from advisors who aren't necessarily talking about the Your Family Bank system. They're talking about something else with a client. And the client says, you know what, I really like your ideas, I really like what you're talking about, but I can't afford to save for retirement. And if you hear that question, you want to ask somebody, is that due to debt? Because a lot of people are committing their resources to getting out of debt. And a lot of people think, I can't save for retirement because I've got all this debt. So if you're talking to people about retirement in general, and someone says, well, I'd love to do that, but I don't have a retirement plan, can't afford to save for retirement. Why? Why don't you have a retirement plan? Why can't you afford to save for retirement? Is it due to debt? And typically that will be the answer. Typically it's because I can't afford it. Why can't I afford it? Because I have all this money committed to debt. So the follow-up question becomes, if I could show you how to do both, how to get out of debt in 9 years or less without spending any more money than you're currently spending on your debt service, and save for retirement at the same time, would you be interested? So you are now getting to that place in a different way and having a conversation now that is about retirement planning, but tying it back to debt. Because most people who aren't currently saving for retirement, it's not that they think that something grandiose is going to happen. Some people do. Some people will tell you their retirement plan is the lottery, right? I'm going to hit. Sooner or later, the odds are going to be in my favor, and I'm going to hit. But for those people who are serious and who tell you, you know, I can't afford that, can't do that right now, ask them very simply, is it due to debt? And then if you can show them a way to get out of debt while saving for retirement at the same time, would they be interested? I would submit to you that those people will be the most motivated people you will find to have a conversation with you. Now, the most important thing, this is something that we cannot stress enough. What you're going to see on this next slide is something that again, we cannot stress this point enough. You are not talking about somebody committing new dollars. In every other approach you will typically make to someone, a buy-sell agreement, employee benefit program, saving for retirement, whatever else it is that typically you're going to talk to somebody about, you're talking to them about them allocating new dollars. The Your Family Bank solution redistributes existing dollars to maximize the efficiency and benefits for your clients. You're not asking them to come out of pocket with new money. Sometimes they'll look at that scenario and they will opt to do that. But you want to stress to people what the Your Family Bank solution does is we help you redistribute your existing wealth using the Your Family Bank concept to maximize the efficiency and save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in money that you otherwise would spend but don't have to. And also stress to people that, again, how does it work? We have to go through a process to see if you qualify. Okay? So we talked at the beginning as one of the things we would do is talk about how to work with business owners. And again, can I go to a business owner and say, hey, are you convinced that you're going to have a great retirement? What do you have? So I could do that. But here's an alternative approach for business owners. Again, it includes one of the Your Family Bank questions in there. I work with successful business owners, and what my clients tell me is one of the most important issues they face, if not the most important, and that is cash flow. I work with my clients to increase their cash flow in one of three ways: found money, borrowed money, or getting out of debt in 9 years or less without spending any more money than they are currently spending on debt service. Which of these money conversations would be most impactful for you and I to have today? Again, there are three things there. Why are there three things there? There are three things there because of what I said earlier. And the last thing, again, is the Your Family Bank question, because, again, the last thing that we mention is typically the first thing they remember. So if you want to work with business owners, again, this presentation is being recorded. This presentation will be available to those of you who are participating in the call, and there is more information that we can provide you on this, as well as the other things that are mentioned here: found money, borrowed money, if somebody asks a question about that. Okay? So what are the primary Your Family Bank sales tools? And this is just some of the things that you have in the software, because some people ask, well, I'm going to get those illustrations. No, you have a whole bunch of other stuff. There is the 7 steps, which is in the binder. There is the 7 steps, which was and is a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF in your software. There is the Meet, Mark, Enjoy PowerPoint or PDF. There is the Meet Joe, which is a PowerPoint or PDF. There is, at the beginning of this program, you saw those whiteboards that we have created. There is a whiteboard in the Your Family Bank sales tools that you can upload to Facebook, or you can send out to people via a text message. There is a presentation for business owners. There is a presentation to business owners for worksite marketing, where you are positioning Your Family Bank as a quote-unquote no-cost employee benefit. There is a college loan debt presentation. There are other things. So as you look at the tools that are available, there is way more than 2 questions and software. Way more. I'm going to ask Ryan to first unmute Jeff. And Jeff and I had a conversation earlier this week, and Jeff, you referred to the Your Family Bank system as something, and hopefully you remember that and can talk about that and some of the other things in terms of your thoughts on this system, and how it has been something that has worked successfully for you in your practice.
Sure. I think what you're talking about is that, I kind of referred to as a silver bullet. Just a quick background. I'm fixing to start my 26th year in the financial services business, and I grew up on the security side with Edward Jones and banks and brokerage firms. And of course, back then I couldn't spell insurance, and they really didn't want you to even talk about it. So I've tried every system there is out there over the years. And one of the problems, we talked about the other day, I think you've got probably 2 kinds of people on this call. One that are still kicking the tires to decide whether they want to do this or not, and another people that may have bought it already and then just haven't really implemented it. Just for the people that have already bought it, go back to what Larry always says, is do it on yourself first. I had it for about a year before I did anything with it, really. And then when I finally wrote one of myself, it kind of made sense. And that's why I said, to me, the problem in this business is how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? Going from Edward Jones to a bank, realize that the bank couldn't do it as good as Edward Jones. And so you end up being like all the other advisors out there that everybody focuses on the asset side of the balance sheet. And so you're competing against every single other person, out there in the market. And when you're an individual or a smaller shop, that gets kind of hard to compete financially with the bigger firms. So again, how do you differentiate yourself? What sold me on the system was when I listened to Larry do a presentation and talk about back in '08 when the market crashed, and the real estate market crashed, and his annuity workshops weren't working as well, and they started looking for something else to do. And he talked about being in the stadium at Florida State. He's a Florida State grad, and he said, if I go out in that stadium and I stand there and I say, in front of 60,000 people, and I hold up my hand and say, I sell annuities, you hear crickets. If I say I do assets under management, you hear more crickets. He says, I sell life insurance, and they start throwing beer cans at you. But if you tell people you can get them out of debt in 9 years or less, including their mortgage, without spending any more money than they're doing currently, at least 60% of the people line up behind you, because that's how many people have debts. All the studies show that. So that really got my interest right there to go to Florida to listen to the whole story. The other part of it is I had been doing money tracks and Circle of Wealth, which is a whole nother system of how to communicate with people about life insurance and how money works. And it focuses on 5 things as far as where to find the money, because most people want insurance. They just don't know how to pay for it, which goes back to what you were saying before. And, the numbers of people that I found that were making extra payments on their mortgage, were overfunding their 401ks above and beyond the match, were had excess taxes being withheld out that they could recapture, were putting money in 529 plans. Well, if they're doing all that, that's like a very small percentage of the population. So you end up focusing on just either seniors or, doctors or whoever you think's got all the money, and it cuts out so many people to talk to. I used to do public workshops, and I'd have so many people that were under that 55 that would come and tell me, well, as soon as I get my debts paid off, well, I didn't have anything to talk to them about back then. Now you do. And so like I said, it was a real eye opener for me to see how the system worked. It's very simple. It's not that complicated to learn the presentations, like some of these other programs out there that, the scripts by themselves are hundreds of pages. So, bottom line, it lets me have a conversation with everybody, not just seniors. If they don't have any debts, great. Then you just go into, your other presentations. But most people have some kind of debt, even if it's just their mortgage. And so it's opened up all kinds of conversations for me with a lot of my existing clients that I would have not done other things with their children or, younger generations just because of that. So, yeah, like I said, to me, it pulled all those other systems I've used over the years together, and that's why I've been calling it my own silver bullet, because I think it's really it's helped me stay in this business and move to the next level.
Thank you.
I hope that's what you're looking for.
That was more than I hoped for. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trust me. I'll talk to Barry after this call. The check is in the mail.
Okay, good deal.
Ryan, could you now unmute Anthony? Hey, Anthony. So you and I talked also, and if you could just talk for a few minutes about your successes, a little bit about your background as Jeff did, and a little bit about your successes with the Your Family Bank system.
Well, I've been in the financial service business since, 1976. I've listened to a lot of different advisors all over the country in reference to presenting different programs. And I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to go down to Florida and see the debt management program, debt relief, and, sparked my attention. And, got back here and kind of studied a little bit. And the first thing I did was try it for myself. And I got involved in it myself, went through the process, and as it stated, it works. You know, like, it's just a process. You have to follow the process. I sit down with my clients and go through the booklet, ask those questions, and, you know, get their interest. Tell them it's not for everybody, okay? And but if you want to get out of debt, this program will help you get out of debt. So kind of just use that, and people, you know, take my word in a sense. Once I show them what I'm doing for myself, and I said, let me start by getting information from you, get an analysis. We'll sit back down, go over it, and basically, I've been able to capture a few people, get into the program.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much. And both Anthony and Jeff said, again, the most important thing. They first had proof of concept by doing it on themselves. And both of them have consistently been producing your family bank cases on a consistent level on a monthly basis. So please, it's not just me, it's not just Griffin saying it, and on these calls in successive months when we have them, we'll bring other. I had two other people who had wanted to share stories on this call as well, but again, time will only permit so much. There is one more point that we're going to share with you on this call. Again, many thanks to Anthony and Jeff for taking time out of their day. Greatly, greatly appreciate that. So the next slide, again, one of the things that Jeff mentioned was about where people typically work with maybe, you know, those little niche pockets, seniors or what have you. And so we've talked with a number of advisors who say, you know what, all I have are seniors as clients. And that's the next slide, which we have as, we're calling it the bonus idea for the call. And Jeff alluded to working with the children of those clients. So you can create, we will create for you a letter, a certificate, something to offer senior clients as a way that you can help them help their children or their grandchildren to become debt-free in 9 years or less, including the mortgage. So just because you have seniors and you say, well, my clients are too old, they're this, they're that, they have children, they have grandchildren. And nobody wants to not help people get out of debt. One of the things that we didn't discuss with Jeff and Anthony, but what I've heard from them and I've heard from others, and it's something that Larry talks about at the program, if you sell somebody an insurance policy or an index annuity or something, they're typically not going to run and tell their friends. But if you show somebody how they're going to become debt-free, and then you actually help them in a few months to pay something off, they tell everybody. So if you're looking for a way to generate referrals in your business, this idea, and Jeff called it the silver bullet. Anthony said when he talks with people, he just tells them, hey, we can help you with this, and who isn't going to want to investigate that. It becomes something that you can talk about to anyone, even if it's not something that they may be qualified for. If anyone has any questions, we do see one question in the chat box, which I will answer. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to type them in there now as we are nearing the end of this program. We want to be cognizant of everyone's time and realize that you are taking your time to be here with us now, which we are very grateful for. If you have questions, if you need assistance, there are two people at Griffin for you to contact. So if you have product and illustration questions, so I need to find out more about Mutual Trust Life, I need an illustration, I need to know about their products. All product and illustration questions, please contact Jane. She is Griffin's Life Insurance Solutions Director. Her phone number is there, her extension, her email address. One thing that I did not put on this presentation is for those of you who may not be licensed with Mutual Trust Life as of yet, but you can notify either Jane or myself. My information is on the next slide, and we will direct you to Tanya, who handles that, my omission. But if you have marketing or sales questions, if you would like to see what this would look like for you, please give me a call. And I can help you. If you have the system and you haven't used it, we can walk through and refresh things. If you are, as Jeff alluded to, somebody who's kicking the tires, I can walk you through and answer all of your questions and show you more about what this software and system can do. I also want to point out to everyone who is on this call that Griffin is going to be having a meeting April 27th and 28th in Dallas, Texas. It is our 2020 Vision Sales Forum. Watch your emails because I've already received and will be continuing to receive emails on this topic. And one of the featured presenters at this meeting that we are having April 27th and 28th in Dallas, Texas, is Larry McLean, the founder of Your Family Bank. So if you say, well, I'd like to find out more, I'd like to see him, I'd like to hear more, I'd like to talk to people who are using the system, that's the great opportunity for you to be there, to talk with producers and advisors who are using the system, and to see Larry McLean talk more about his program as well. There's also an email that you're going to get if you haven't already. We have another special program, one of our Wednesday webinars in the month of March. I believe it is March the 13th, that will also feature Larry McLean. So I want to thank you all for participating in this call. I do not see any more questions in the chat box. The one question I do see is, what types of qualifications are required to enter the program as a client? And so the qualification revolves around the debt that the person has and what they're currently paying towards their debt. I will send you a more detailed answer to that question, Greg, in an email. And Ryan, thank you for correcting me that Wednesday webinar with Larry McLean in the month of March is on the 11th. And again, Barry sends out a calendar every single Monday. Check that. There's a link there for you to make a reservation to be on that call. And again, we want to thank you all for participating in this call. I want to thank Jeff and Anthony for sharing their insights. And to those of you who have the software and have not done anything with it yet, please give me a call. To those of you who are thinking about it and are not really sure how it will fit into your practice, again, give me a call and we can have a substantive conversation. I can show you some of the tools that come, do a screen share with you and walk you through the software so you can see what's there. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and a tremendous week, and I look forward to talking with everyone who participated on today's call.